All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Erin Minckley. I'm the author of Artists Who Thrive, and I'm the host of this podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about a lot of different concepts, one of which I just came up with, and it's called releasing the secret weapon. So I'm going to get into a little bit of storytelling of what's gone on for me for the last 2 weeks, and then I'm going to apply all of what I've been going through to some useful tools for you as a creative person, as an entrepreneur, as a dreamer, how to use this tool called the 4-box model to really change the negative feedback loop that your brain sort of automatically goes into. So it's the weekend after Thanksgiving 2024 when I'm recording this, and I'm back this week with my voice. I was talking so much on the phone last time I had my last episode that my voice was gone, and I'm just really excited to be here in the studio talking to you about what I've been going through. And for anyone that's been following along, I am the founder of a wallpaper company called Relativity Textiles. And this year, I have been determined to scale my business and grow it exponentially by investing in purchasing some machinery to make my own wallpaper. And there's a wallpaper factory that went out of business in July. So I've been trying to basically acquire all of this equipment, which is in a facility in Chicago. And I even facilitated the sale of the building to my current landlord because I have a store. And this landlord, we'll just call him the landlord, has proven to be quite an obstacle in my way, impeding my success, or so I thought. And I'll get into that a little bit. At the end of the episode last week, I was really feeling like I had a deep down internal conflict going on. And it was through many conversations that I realized I was sort of doing this competition where I was out to prove something to the world. I was out to show that I'm somebody and make a name for myself, but that all of these men in business, the landlord, the former owner of the factory, and many other people in this story were like impeding my success. And I wanted to compete. I wanted to like man up. I wanted to like hold more masculine energy because I thought that that was the way that I was going to gain control over my situation and get what I want. And what I want is to print wallpaper for other people. Most of them are women, most of them are artists. And the whole entire point of writing this book was that I know that I have gifts that I need to share with other artists. So it's in the name of helping other artists that I really wanted to like fight this fight and get what I want. And so in talking through that and watching and observing my thoughts, what really came up was this push and pull, this question of like, is there a more feminine way of going about this? Is there more creative way of solving my problems? Or do I need to like put on the manly business paradigm and work through my problems the way that a male business owner would do? And I had several situations that contributed to this. One was that the owner of the factory dismantled all of the machinery so that it couldn't be used because I offered him half the money he wanted for it. And then when he left everything in its place and sold the building, he took it all apart so that I wouldn't be able to succeed at printing wallpaper with his machines. And now the landlord is asking me to provide $250,000 proof that I have money in my bank or get a co-signer to sign a 5-year lease, which I did not know after signing a 3-year lease for my store. It was about as easy as renting an apartment. You just put a down payment and you sign a bunch of papers. I did not know that a commercial lease, actually, it's kind of standard to ask people to prove their finances or ask someone to have a guarantor if they don't actually have that amount of money for like 1 to 2 years of rent. So here I am thinking, okay, I'm going to rent this space for $10,000 a month. It's a huge amount of money. I was trying to negotiate the first 6 months of rent to be free. I was trying to find, I still am trying to find an investor to help me out with this. And one of the feedbacks that the landlord gave me about what I should have done in order to get the machinery from the former owner is, and I quote, "It wouldn't have hurt if you would have worn a short skirt." And now this man is 57 years old, and here I am, 42. I live in a world where women shouldn't be treated that way. I live in a world where it's not okay for him to say things like that. And I also live in a world where I can wear pants or a skirt or decide what I want to wear. And I think that deals should be done with women in the business world, regardless of how they appear and how they dress. So there was some feedback that I had for this person, but I need something from him. So I didn't want to rock the boat too much. And when I went to my investor, who's also a man, and told him that this is how the landlord was behaving, he asked for his phone number. He said, "I'm going to call them." And I got really scared. I was like, "Are you sure, investor? This is a good idea. What if I lose the deal? What if I don't get what I want? What if I don't get the factory? What if he decides to scrap all the machines, throw them into the dumpster, and they go to a landfill, and then I have nothing to start with?" And my investor, being the amazing person that he is, said, "Well, that's the risk we take." And I just had to come to terms with the fact that, okay, I'm not going to play the game the way that the landlord expects me to. What are my other options? And it wasn't until last week, the week of Thanksgiving, when no one's answering their phone, that I kind of came to this conclusion that I could probably much easier purchase the building from the landlord and work down a mortgage or have an investor assist me in that part of this business than deal with this person who is so completely not aligned with my vision of how the world should be, and deal with that person for 5 years. And so, I was battling. I was battling with my own past and my own history of having men in my life hold me back financially and abuse their power. I was holding back. I was really coming up against some narratives that men are bad and masculine energy is bad, and this way of doing things is counter to how I want to run my life. I was also in the process of trying to find an electrician to come over and check out the machines and see if they were in working condition. I hired about 4 or 5 different men to come, and as they came in, I introduced myself. I say, "Hi, I'm Erin, and I'm buying this machinery, but I want to make sure that we can get it up to snuff, and can you take a look?" And most of them were like, "I don't work on machines. I'm just a general electrician, and I can't put everything back together." So I was starting to feel like really hopeless. But there was one guy named Paul who came, and he he's a working class electrician. I was hopeful that he had a lot of experience working on machines because he had told me that he had worked in different factories. And he, how do I say this in like a PC way? He was like giving me eyes, but I was trying really hard to just when I'm in a factory meeting an electrician, I'm not like dressing up. I'm not wearing high heels. I'm not wearing a short skirt. I'm not really like presenting myself in any kind of way. But I was just trying to like stick to business. And one day after Paul came, because Paul was like, yes, I can do this for you. Yes, I just need to see the schematic and see the blueprint of how the machine was built originally, and I can fix everything. And I was like, okay, great, I have that. He was like, okay, I'll come back Saturday. So Friday of last week, he texts me at like 5:30 at night and said, whoever your partner is like really lucky to have you, and I just think you're so amazing. Oh, and like I just knew immediately that like this wasn't going to go well, but I was trying really hard to like keep my integrity as a business owner, and I was like, thank you for the compliment. And I probably shouldn't have told him. I was like, I don't have a partner, and I'm sort of a lone wolf, and tried to brush it off. And he basically was like, will you have dinner with me? And I told him I have two young children and there's no way I'm going to have dinner. I'm sorry. And he was like, fuck it. Find someone else. Like, I was trying to be nice to you and basically go find a new electrician. And I was like, oh my God, no, like I should have. Someone I talked to was like, why don't you just have dinner with him? And, it's like, now I'm not fighting the masculine way of doing things. Now that's not my biggest challenge. It's like my morals or how someone else wants me to like act. And I'm choosing between my own morals or getting the job done. And I think that this is symptomatic in some regards for men, probably, but this has definitely weighed so heavily on me as a woman in business. So, just take a breath after all of that. That is what's been going on for me. And I decided to reach out to 3 different female realtors in Chicago. All of them are my good friends. And I said, hey, I'm thinking about buying a building. One of them said, yay, I would be so excited to represent you as your broker. Let me start connecting you to different residential or real estate attorneys. The other one said, Erin, this sounds really tricky and it sounds like a huge undertaking. And are you sure you want to do this? Maybe you should consider just like simplifying, like do something that's simpler, not buy the building and run the manufacturing and reinvent the wheel and start a new business and fundraise $1 million. And like all of this is starting to kind of like become a really big undertaking. And I was like, yes, I know. Thank you for sharing. And when I get feedback like that, I obviously see this as a friend of mine who cares about me and wants what's good for me. But I also see the flip side of the coin, which is that she would not want to take on this amount of risk herself. And so she doesn't advise me to do it because she herself would not want to. So it's like more of a projection of her own fear and worry and doubt than it is truth. So I see it as both. And I want to listen to the first part because she does care about me. The third person I called said, I have a female broker that would love to talk to you and consult. And I talked to this person in my car while I was waiting for my son to get out of basketball practice. And she was like, I'm sensing that there's a little bit of, what did she say? Tension with this landlord. And I was like, yes. I was like, there are some comments that he has made that make me feel uncomfortable, that make me feel incompetent, that make me feel less than, not only because I don't have money, but because I'm a woman. And there were even words used like submit or concede, which is do things my way. And that was an expectation, probably because I'm a woman. And so she was like, I would love to represent you. When can we talk to this landlord? When can we go see the property? Let's get it appraised. Let's see if he's taking you for a run for your money by asking you for $850,000 is what he wants for the property he just bought from the previous owner for $600,000. So all of that has been going on. And as I'm trying to navigate these tough decisions as a businesswoman, with all the hope in the world that it's going to work out, with all the desire to get this existing business back up and running, I had to ask myself, like, is this the moment where I want to put on my armor, get out my sword and my shield and fight this out to the death? Or is there a more beautiful way of looking at this? Because it's a challenge, regardless. I'm up against a huge challenge, but the way that I look at it might help me determine the right path forward. And what I was looking at it was, everyone just sees me as a girl, and they're trying not to let me succeed. That was how I was framing everything. And so I thought that I had to come up against that masculine way of thinking, that masculine energy with more masculine energy, which isn't my heart center. It's not my highest purpose. It's not my authentic self. It's not the most creative way to be. And so over Thanksgiving, had a lot of time to reflect. And the thing that I wanted to share is this. I'm trying to create the world that I want to be a part of. And that assumes that there's multiple worlds happening simultaneously. I want people in my community who are helping me succeed. I want people in my corner. I want people like my investor and this realtor who are saying, you can do this, this is wrong, and you don't have to do things this way. And that's the world I want to be a part of. And so I get to create that, and I get to co-create that with whoever else wants to play in my sandbox, whoever wants to drink my Kool-Aid. Here you go. Here's a cup for you. Like, anyone that wants to come, let's roll. Anyone that doesn't, bye. I'm not going to play by your rules. I'm not going to even engage. And I'm not going to come with my masculine energy. I'm just going to try to be my most authentic self, that little center of the onion that we talked about last week in the last episode of this podcast. It's called The Big Peel. If you didn't see it, go to YouTube, find me and my name and The Big Peel. So I am trying to share my process with you through this podcast, even though I don't know how this journey is going to end, because number one, I'm record keeping. I can go back in 5 years and be like, remember me when I was trying to do that and I still didn't know that I was going to succeed and have crazy success? There's that girl. The other thing is that I am sharing my process in order to potentially inspire other people to be courageous enough to create the world that they want to live in, to conquer in some more authentic way the evils, whatever those might be to you. We all have certain things, whether it's political or gender or socioeconomic or race or whatever. Like, we have people that we don't agree with, and maybe we just don't engage them. Maybe we disagree silently, and maybe we create something better. So one book that I've been reading, I want to share with you guys, is called The Go-Giver. And when I say that I've been reading it, I've actually just been listening to it on Amazon Audible. So it's a super quick read. There's 5 different laws in this book, and one is the law of compensation. And it talks about how it's not about what can I get. It's not what's in it for me, which is the landlord's famous quote, is show me the money and what's in it for me. You guys, this guy literally came to my studio on the day of the election to gloat and celebrate that Donald Trump had won and tell me that he was driving his Rolls Royce over to one of his tenants' evictions and he couldn't wait to see their shit on the sidewalk. Okay, so just to paint a picture for you of this guy who's got $1 million in the bank, not a good person. And, you know, the law of compensation is all about choosing ways to make money where you are giving something of yourself, thinking about the other person. Not what's in it for me, what am I going to get from this transaction, but what am I going to give? What's in it for you? What's in it for the artists? What's in it for the wallpaper designers? What's in it for the employees? What's in it for the Chicago community? What's in it for the interior designers? Like, who are all the people, even the homeowners who have now beautiful powder rooms because I designed them some amazing wallpaper and printed it right here in Chicago. Like, there's a trickle down effect. There's a ripple effect of how many people I might be able to help or inspire just by thinking that way. And so the law of compensation says you can either choose a job, a career, or a calling. And that really resonated with me because, yes, I'm creating a business. Yes, I'm writing a business plan. Yes, I'm putting my name at the top of the tree as CEO. So I am creating myself a job, but that's not the purpose of why I'm doing this. I'm also not trying to advance my career. I'm not trying to make a career moment, although it will be a career moment if I do succeed at this. And I will be able to write another book and say, I wrote the book on how to scale your business as an artist, instead of I wrote the book on how not to starve as an artist. And so I'm really excited about that, but it's not the reason why I'm doing it. I'm doing it and I'm doing this, whatever the fuck podcast this is. I don't even know if I should call it Relativity Textiles, Artists Who Thrive, Pattern to Profit, who knows? We'll rebrand in a year. It's because this is my calling. My calling is to help people. My calling is to show people the way by doing it first myself so that they can see an example of what that looks like in the world. And I talked about Martha Stewart last week because she was showing people, I can decorate my house and make a whole magazine about it and become the first female self-made billionaire. She's showing the way. So I was having this call with Lisa and Bryn from Lone Dub, and they're in Los Angeles. They're two artists, partners, and business partners, and we were talking about this ideal world. In fact, guys, we talked for almost an hour, and I never once mentioned pricing or wallpaper production or the type of paper and inks or send me your design. I just talked to them about life, and I was just trying to create that connection, like that we want to both drink the same Kool-Aid. And Bryn was telling me about, this political moment in time feels to her and her partner like we're stepping back in time, like we're back in history. She was talking about being at this wedding with a bunch of Trumpers, and she was like, oh my God, I didn't even know all these people were Trumpers, and now it's finally coming out that we're friends with these people. And she said that Michael Beckwith gave the speech at this wedding. And he gave this analogy of an arrow, a bow and arrow. And I love this analogy. It's like we're kind of pulling back. We're going back in time. We're pulling back the bow. We have the bow and the arrow in our arms. And we're going back. It takes so much tension to go backwards in history and backwards in time. But eventually the only option is to let go. And the arrow catapults forward and goes quickly into the future. And we evolve as a species and we evolve as humanity, and our ideas shift, and we finally get to this forward momentum that people are hoping for. The landlord has told me in past conversations and exchanges, you're not going to change anything. It will most likely be the next generation. And maybe that's because he's almost 60 years old. But I'm hopeful that I am the change, and that my generation is the change, and that Lisa and Bryn are the change. And I'm hopeful that we're going to have some serious forward momentum coming soon. That's the only way I can wake up in the morning and get out of bed, is knowing that there are more people than just me that want to drink this hopeful Kool-Aid. So with that in mind, what can I give? That has become the new paradigm. And I've had this shift of like, this is going to be hard. They're out to get me. Men are bad. Masculine energy is the energy of business. I want to quit. Those were all the thoughts swirling in my head 2 weeks ago after I recorded that last podcast. And so I want to share something with you guys now that I learned in coach training. It's called the 4-box model. And this technique was designed by Maria Nemeth, who founded ACE Coaching Academy in San Francisco. And I was certified to be a coach through that academy. And this is a really helpful visual way for us to conceive of the thought process that's necessary. And this is where the secret weapon herein lies. You have 4 boxes. And it's funny because someone once said, like, I could just watch you draw all day long. And to me, I'm like, I'm an artist and like, this isn't very good. What are you talking about? So I decided I'm just going to draw pictures for you. Hopefully it's entertaining. Okay, so everything hinges in this model. These are your thoughts. This is how things happen in your world. Everything hinges on what we put in box number 1. So if we put in box number 1 something like, it's going to be hard. It's going to be downright impossible. I'm going to have masculine energy. I'm going to have to fight. All right. Then really, can you guys see this? Should we move it a little bit closer? Really, this is the starting point. It's going to be hard becomes the narrative. It becomes the story. So when we have a thought like that, it's basically, to us, it feels like the truth. It's not the truth. It's a feeling. It's an assumption. But we convince ourselves that this is the truth. It's going to be hard. I'm going to have to bring all my masculine energy. I'm going to have to put on my armor and fight this to the death with my sword and my shield. And that was where I was a week and a half ago. In box number 2, what generally happens is that we begin to collect evidence. And we are collecting evidence to support this truth. We want to be certain that we are correct. So I have this landlord, and he is sexist. I have the former owner. He dismantled all the machines, making it harder. I have this electrician who asked me on a date, and when I said no, he fired himself. And all of these different things that were starting to surface for me, including, Even things from the past, like my ex-husband used to withhold money as a way to control me. And every guy in my life, I started going, oh, you know what? I have more evidence. I have more evidence. And so we can start filling up this box with so many instances where that has been true for me, to the point that there's no way that I'm even going to try to collect any other evidence, like, oh, but there's this one person who's like a good guy and he didn't try to fuck me over. Nope, like, we don't need that evidence. We just want lots of concrete information that supports truth. This is truth. Right? And what happens to us when we see all these instances where our box number 1 is right? I'm going to put O, B. This is our behavior. Do I start to meditate on all of the amazing, hopeful possibilities that would conspire for me once my business is off the ground? No, I'm considering quitting. Okay? So I'm like this. This is my face. I'm like worried. All right, I'm starting to behave. I even put my guard up. I start acting rude to people. I'm thinking, oh, I won't get my way unless I become a bitch. So I'm gonna have to really like be stern with everyone, and I'm gonna have to confront everyone. And this is how my behavior and my demeanor starts to be, is really frustrated, grumpy, extra. It's because it's maddening. It's maddening, all this evidence. And in the last box, guys, what evidence leads to my behavior, and my behavior leads to other people's behaviors. So here's all these other people who, maybe they wanted to help me, but they're like, nah, she's kind of bitchy and she's kind of like not very, we don't have money for you, sorry. Or we don't really want to work for you. Or we're not interested in being your electrician. And there might even be someone that's like mad at me, right? And so all these other people's behavior starts to reflect my state of being. It's a direct reflection of my behavior, and my behavior is a direct reflection of the evidence that I've created, and that is a direct reflection of what I started with, which is it's going to be hard, and I'm going to have to fight people. And so what do? I go in this loop and I come back to the truth. See, none of these people wanted to help me. It's led me to this point because of all this stuff. And so I am right. It is true. This is how I'm going to see the world. This is my paradigm. And then I'm either going to want to quit, or I'm going to become a cynic, or I'm going to say, oh, well, you have a business and you're successful and you're a woman, probably because, and then I'm going to be real cynical if I find a woman out there in the world who's succeeding at something, because I never was able to, right? And then I'm going to go work for the man. I don't know. So what can I put in this box number 1 instead? And we go back to the go-giver, and I go back to thinking, what is my calling? And I think about how I want to share my process so that it might inspire others. And I want to do the opposite of what I've been doing, because I want the opposite result. The more interesting statement is, I am the creator of a thriving business, an amazing supportive community, a group of humans, a group of feminists, a group of artists. I am the creator of something that's making a difference. And that the agency is in me. I am the one who gets to stir the sugar and the red food coloring, hopefully not red dye number 40, and make the Kool-Aid. And then I get to give it to everyone else. And so this conversation with Bryn and Lisa, this conversation, this email, I started getting orders, you guys. Someone asked me if I can print their wallpaper before my printing production is even off the ground. I have purchase orders. I have things coming through. I have support. I have an investor who is backing me 100%. I have this amazing, powerful female broker who's willing to go to bat for me, and I could buy the building, and I don't need that evil, negative energy in my orbit. And what happens to me when I have this kind of energy? This is me. I feel on top of the world. I feel excited. I feel like sharing. I feel like yelling from the mountaintops. I feel like going forward. And every single day I have felt like I'm going to quit at night. And when I wake up, ding, I come back to this. You know what? I have evidence that what I'm trying to do is going to have impact. And when I'm searching for that evidence to support this truth, here's me and here's everyone else. And here's their money that they're willing to put in my pocket because they are so excited to have me help them make their dream come true and be the creator of their own reality. So this 4-box model is super powerful, and it's a great exercise for you to try with something that you've been struggling with a challenge that you're currently up against, with anything really, like with family dynamics or relationships or work if you're working for someone else. These are the kinds of things that we have to find out. Where is the struggle? Like, oh, the struggle's real. Is it? Like, is it the truth? Or is it something that you created? And you have agency to change that story because you're the author of that story. And another book I just want to briefly share before we cut. I'm reading this. A friend gave this to me 2 days ago. We went out and had margaritas, and he brought me this book, and I was like, why did you recommend this to me? And he has been an entrepreneur. He has fundraised for an app that he created, and he knew what types of challenges I'm going to be up against. And anyone out there that's ever started a business, you know how many challenges there are. And so one quote that I wanted to read to you guys from this book, it's by Ryan Holiday, by the way, and it's got a little bit of a masculine undertone, so I'm taking it with a grain of salt, but it talks about Lou Gehrig, and it talks about his famous baseball career. And this is a quote. "I will have to play," he said. "Baseball is hard work, and the strain is tremendous. Sure, it's pleasurable, but it's tough. You'd think that everyone has the will to play, but of course that's not true. Just like it's not true that everyone has what it takes to become the owner of a business. Some of us get by on natural talent, hoping never to be tested. Others are dedicated up to a point, but they'll quit if it gets too hard." Oh my God, this is me. I'm reading this and I'm going, oh, it's me. That was true then as it is now. even at the elite level. A manager in Gehrig's time described it as an age of alibis. Everyone was ready with an excuse. There was always a reason why they couldn't give their best, didn't have to hold the line, were showing up to camp less than prepared. So it's an interesting, I got about 30 pages through this book and I'm still reading, but it's an interesting look at the kind of discipline that it takes if you want to succeed at something. It's about, I always preach this, success is consistently doing something that you said that you were going to do. But it's about consistently doing it, not just doing it once. So discipline, it really does lead to freedom. And I'm hoping to create financial freedom with my new business. But in the process, I'm basically training myself on mastery, self-mastery, and self-awareness, and embracing that what that looks like is it's the opposite of excuses. And it's the opposite of narratives that don't serve me. And the men are out to get me narrative, and poor me, a woman in business, I can't do this because they're making it so hard. That excuse is not serving me. And Lisa and Brent helped me find that there are people out there that see my vision and respect me and want to work with me and want to give me money and want to pay to be playing in my sandbox. That was so validating. And I love this metaphor of we have to pull back in order to let go. We have to sometimes endure all that tension, which is how I'm feeling right now, in order to catapult into the future, into success and freedom. So guys, the reduced lesson here is that resignation is not an option. You can pivot, you can evolve, or you can plie. And this is the most feminine energy you're ever going to find in me, which is, a ballet metaphor. I don't like the idea of pivoting. You're going this direction. You just decide to change course. No, just do a little twirl and then move gracefully forward. If I can't buy the factory and if I can't buy the building, I'm going to find a way to get all those machines onto a semi-truck and move them to a new location. And can I still say we've been printing wallpaper since 1974? Maybe not. Maybe if I buy all new machines, there are so many other options for me. And so I'm trying to move forward with ease and grace. And I hope that this 4-box model becomes the secret weapon for you guys to catapult into success. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you guys like and subscribe to this channel wherever you're seeing this. Go find me on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and let's make some wallpaper. Bye.